All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's open forum. Can everyone hear me okay? Oh, awesome. All right, I'm going to need some feedback from you guys. I can only see a few of you. If you have your camera on, I appreciate you guys giving me some feedback. All right, so we're going to start today on CMAs. Are you guys excited about CMAs? Okay, fantastic. What I want to talk to you not only is about what goes into the CMAs, but how to create them easily. And I would like to get you guys input on doing a template for a CMA for the office that you guys could use and just plug the information into graphics wise. And then we can create something where you guys can just plug and play when you have something, so you don't have to worry about the graphics. For some of you, you're going to you probably have a hard time with graphics and stuff like that, and this is making it a lot easier for you. So, not implicating you on your age or anything else. I'm just saying. But one of the things I did, even with this presentation, is I used PowerPoint for this presentation, obviously, but it did some really cool graphic stuff. Some of the stuff you'll see that I did it in 2 seconds. Really, really easy stuff. And I can show you that another time. But what we're going to do today is go into the makings of a CMA, the how, the why, what it's for, what I mean, you guys know what it's for, but how it will help your business, and how doing a quality one will help your business. And I'm going to give you just a sample, quick one that I did on a fake property. All right. Let's begin. Mastering the CMA, your key to winning listings and serving clients. Okay, objectives for today. Understand what a CMA is and why it's essential. Learn step by step how to create an accurate CMA. Master tools and resources for Florida markets. Gain strategies to use CMAs to win listings and build trust. What do you guys think the most important part of a CMA is? Tammy, when you do a CMA, what do you think the most important part is?
Price. I don't know.
But price, why?
Well, I know the seller's going to want as much as they can get out of the property, but because you've got to price it right in order for it to sell or to be accurate.
Right. So you think that to properly market it and sell it in a reasonable amount of time and get the most they can is the purpose.
And yeah, and what's sold in the area. And
how many times have you seen your clients price a property, insist that you price it too high, and ends up costing money in the long run? A lot of times.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty common. So it's important for that. It also builds trust with you as the market expert if you do a nice one, right? And it does. You know, I always tell you guys that when you're working for FRI, a 100% company, and you go in and we'll go into a listing appointment, and let's say they're going to meet with three agents, for 3 potential listing agents, and we go in and we all have similar CMAs and we all do everything differently. And that's why I tell you guys, you know, we've talked before about, 10% of everything I do goes to charity of your choice, that kind of thing, things that you can add. But if you go in and you look like you don't know what you're doing, that's not going to be any good to them. The other things that you offer, if you go in with, and it's a haphazard operation where you say, yeah, I think your house is worth this. Also, when you go in, and we're going to talk a little bit about this, you walk in the door and say, yeah, your house is worth this because I already did the numbers on it. Well, you're no better than Zillow if you're doing that. So you have to go around the house, walk around the house, see what they have. I mean, Zillow just uses an algorithm and data to come up with their price, which we're going to talk a little bit about, to come up with their estimate, which you guys have seen, $50,000 off, $75,000 off one way or the other on Zestimates before. They're not taking into account the condition of the home, et cetera, right? The other homes that have sold, condition of those, any value added things. So they're not accurate at all. So you can't go in, but you're no more accurate if you're just getting your information from MLS. That's where they get theirs from, MLS and the property appraiser. Right? So if you're not doing any better than that, then what do they need you for? How are you an expert if you don't walk around the house with them, take notes, take pictures, take videos, and give them instructions on what they need to do to make the house more marketable for a reasonable amount of money? So that's where you need to know your business, right? You need to know that spending 50 grand on a kitchen remodel doesn't necessarily pay off, right? But sometimes replacing flooring and stuff like that that's worn out, makes the house look bad, can be a good thing. Yes, Tammy.
I went on a listing appointment. They're getting their house ready to list. Well, he texted me and he said, "Hey, do you think if we add, so the way the house is set up, you could put a door and then go up to these back staircase to like these loft and a bedroom." He goes, "Hey, do you think if we add a door to where we could have a separate, there's like a door there. I don't totally remember it, but to make it a door. I think it was a screen door or something. If we put a door there to where there's like a separate entrance and we, do you think that would add value to the house?" And I'm like, well, probably would add value, but I'm not sure how zoning would view that, like if you're thinking of Airbnb it, but maybe like, maybe if you have a teenage child or, that wants to come and go separately. But what would you say to somebody that asks you that? Like, do you think we could get more for our house? Do you think it's going to add value?
Here's where I learned an expensive lesson. Well, it wasn't. It worked out okay, but it would have been. There's something called an ADU, which is a dwelling unit outside of the normal additional dwelling unit. And if it's completely okay on its own, can be completely operated on its own, like it has a kitchenette and it has everything it needs, it actually does not count toward the square footage of the house when they do the appraisal. So it actually could have hurt my customer. The people came up, it was a nice house. People came up with the cash separately, but it could have hurt my customer, my seller, when, because they had a 6,000 square foot house and then this 1,200 square foot outdwelling, the mother-in-law suite that was completely, had a kitchenette and everything. It was completely a dwelling unit on its own. And it did not count for the appraisal. Fortunately, the buyer, it was a big deal. So the buyers had plenty of money, but it would have been a difficult time on a regular house. So you have to be very careful with that, but that's where your expertise comes in. That's where you look that kind of stuff up and ask an appraiser, and say,
well, it's part of their house. So the person, it would be like some bedrooms that are attached to their house upstairs. They could make a separate.
Unless that makes it a bedroom or not a bedroom, then I wouldn't think that it's important. But if it's attached. So
but I don't think we could market as like a mother-in-law suite or anything like that. Do you? I mean, they were going to put like maybe a kitchenette type thing with, not really a kitchen. And I just am not comfortable with that because I told him to call zoning or call, I don't know if you're violating anything.
Very careful with that, with not from the permitting standpoint so much as the valuation standpoint. I would talk to him.
Well, like the zoning, the R1 or whatever you are, the residential. I don't know if you make a multifamily out of a single family or
Yeah, you can do that. You can rent a room. I mean, you can rent a room now, so it doesn't matter. I mean, it's completely legal. You can't Airbnb it. You can't have somebody different there all the time. No, it still has to be. I can come live there for a minimum of 7 months, or a 7-month lease. Some people do a 7-month lease, but they don't stay 7 months. But let's say I only want to come down. I'm a snowbird. I want to come down for 3, and they'll do a 7-month lease, but I only stay for 3, so they'll portion the money out that way. But
could you market that house? Could you market that? Could you market that house as more of a multiple or like?
No. You can't market it as like an income property for that. No.
Right.
No, because I can only do it once every 7 months. If there's 7-month minimum, which most of it is. So I can only do it, like you might only have to stay a month, right? And you just pay me whatever, but you don't pay me over 7 months. You just pay me that month, but I can't lease it out again for 7 months. I can't keep doing that. So because there's a minimum on a typical standard, a typical zoning for R1 is got a minimum, it's not a short-term residential, short-term rental. Christina.
I don't know if you'll know, but that's interesting. I didn't know that about ADUs. If it's attached to the house, if it has like a breezeway from the house to the ADU, is that?
Great question. This one had a breezeway. Was not attached.
So if it, like maybe like have you ever seen those David Weekly plans where they have that? It's in Baldwin Park a lot.
But it has to be completely stand on its own to be an ADU.
Okay, so if you have like an attached breezeway from the main house to the ADU, that could be.
No, I don't mean physically stand on. I mean it has to stand on its own. Like you can completely live there without ever leaving.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, like for like you're saying for appraisal purposes, because.
Talk to an appraiser about it. But I'm talking about this one had a full kitchen, had everything. So
yeah,
I would never have to leave that. I would never have to go home. That was the whole idea.
Right, but I'm wondering if they would count it if it was like physically attached by a breezeway.
I know they'll count it if you don't have, this one had laundry, this one had everything. I know they count it if I still need the main house to live, if I still need the kitchen and everything else from the main house. And
Yeah.
I know that's not the right terminology, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm still dependent on the main house,
Mm-hmm.
but this one was not dependent on the main house at all. That was the problem.
Got it. Okay. All right. Good
Does
to know.
Baldwin Park, because I know Lake Nona, the garage apartments over at Lake Nona, the electricity on some are separate and on others it's not. So I think when I see those listings, they have the square footage and then they maybe have in parentheses, maybe the other square footage, if I'm remembering correctly, for the garage apartment. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
They had a lot that were attached. I know they had kitchenette, bathroom. I don't believe they had laundry, but that's an interesting point that you're bringing up, Brian. I didn't know appraisers looked at it that way. That's crazy.
Yeah, that was an issue with this one. Okay, so let's move on with this. Definition of a CMA. A CMA is an estimate of a property's fair market value based on similar recently sold properties. As you guys know, it's an informal tool used by realtors, unlike formal appraisals by licensed appraisers. The purpose, estimating a property's value using comparables. Key components, compares location, size, age, condition, and features of similar properties. What's the difference between a CMA, appraisal, and Zestimate? CMAs are agent-led and pre-contract. Appraisals are post-contract and required for financing. Zestimates or any other AVM is a quick approximation based on algorithms and modeling and does not take a property's condition or other factors into account. So that's what we were just talking about. That's why you guys don't count on Zillow, but we've all used Zillow real quick to see kind of what ballpark and then kind of go from there sometimes. That's perfectly fine. Builds client trust, demonstrates expertise, and you want to know what the Zillow is going to say before you go talk to the client, obviously, because they're going to have something in their head about the property, and you're going to know what objections you're going to need to overcome if this thing is 50,000 higher than your CMA is saying, or if it's $50,000 lower or $20,000 lower. It's good to see that too. Builds client trust, demonstrates expertise, and provides data-backed pricing advice. This is the important reason to do this. Demonstrates expertise and provides data-backed pricing advice, optimizes sales. Accurate CMAs lead to, this is what we're talking about with TAMI, lead to faster sales and better offers by avoiding over or under pricing. Doesn't sit on the market a long time. What do we all think when a property sits on the market a long time? Something's got to be wrong with it, right? Competitive edge, at least that's what clients think. We look at the history and see if it's ever been under contract, and obviously then we assume the inspections didn't go well or something like that. If it keeps going in for under contract for 7 days and coming out and everything else. Competitive advantage in Florida's hot markets like Tampa or Orlando, mastering CMAs helps win listings. Risk mitigation reduces disputes over valuations and ensures compliance with fair housing laws. A good CMA sets you apart from automated pricing tools. Okay. Step one, itemize strengths and weaknesses. Walk the property inside and out. Take notes and photos. This is what we were talking about. This is where you get to be the expert in selling a home. List the pros, the new roof, the ocean view and cons, deferred maintenance, busy street, all the things, busy street, maybe the neighbors got junk in the yard, depends on the neighborhood, school districts, etc. Factor in buyer preferences. Move-in ready homes sell faster in Florida. That's probably true everywhere. Use sensory observation, sight, sound, smell for accurate assessment. Gather data. Deed, taxes, schools, amenities, flood zones. Use tools like RPR for demographics, trends, and mortgage reports. I would add the RPR, guys, if you can, at least aspects of it, to your CMA. Avoid direct fair housing violations, obviously. Refer clients to third-party sources for school and demographic info like crime. This is where we like to send people for crime. Send them to WFTV or something like that and let them find their own crime statistics and their own neighborhood people who have to check in when they move in somewhere. Include neighborhood stats, walk score, safety, and local developments like highways. You guys know when there's stuff coming, but be careful about, don't pitch them on stuff there's a Whole Foods coming in a mile down the street. Don't pitch them on stuff like that. You can't guarantee that, and they can complain about that you sold them a dream. Search MLS for sold properties within 3 months, half a mile to 1 mile radius, same decade built. A lot of times I use the quarter to half mile depending on the area, or you can use you can use, if you're going to be on the MLS, you can use the neighborhood. That's probably the best thing to do if you're in a big neighborhood. You can use, for example, well, any kind of neighborhood you're going to do. But if I were selling a home in Alworth, I wouldn't just say I'd go within a 1 mile radius. I would look within Alworth, and I would go back farther in time rather than go back out farther distance wise, if that makes sense. Does that make sense to people? Shake your head and nod your head if it makes sense. Awesome. Because the reason for that is because we're talking about a unique subdivision that is surrounded by other older subdivisions that aren't as fancy, right? So not only that, but we're not going to see another 7,500 square foot or 12,500 square foot house within it's going to be an Alworth if it is. So that's the point of that. Include 3 to 10 comps, similar size, bedrooms, baths, and lot size, as close as you can. If it's not similar at all, we're going to adjust, which we're going to show you how to do that on the when we do the sample one. Note pending listings and multiple offers for market heat. Guys, this is where we come into, okay? Zestimate can't account for market heat when it comes to pricing. We can account for market heat. Look, your numbers say your house is worth $500,000, but there's 2 more of your model with very similar to yours for one's 490, one's 495. If we want to sell this before they do, and they've been on the market 70 days, if we want to sell this, we're going to have to go below them, right? Or at least compete with them. I know you think it's worth 525, but my numbers say 500, and they've got a 490 and a 495 that aren't selling, right? So, and they haven't been under contract yet. And even, you know what? Talk to those listing agents and see what's going on. Ask them, you know, if somebody asks you for advice, they call you about your listing, you'll help them out, right? Or at least tell them, you know, sorry, I'm going to use Tammy again. Tammy, you're the only face I can see, which is great. Tammy, are you getting a lot of showings on your house at 123 Oak Street? Yeah, you know, Tammy's going to tell me, yeah, we're not getting a lot of showings, you know, which tells me lack of showings, too high of a price. If they're coming and seeing it and not putting in an offer, then it's not showing well. So contact other agents and stuff. Be thorough, guys. You make lots of money for selling these houses. Be thorough. Get it done. Assess value add-ons. Example, pools add value, but consider maintenance in humid Florida climate. Pools add value to a lot of buyers, not to everyone, and they never appraise. They never appraise for what they should. A new pool costs you $75,000, an average pool right now to build, and there you get about $17,000 on an appraisal. So it's not very good. But hopefully you enjoy it. Adjust for customization, search similar areas if no local comps. Explain impacts. Unique features may not always justify higher prices. Everyone loves their house. You need to get a sheet, and we've passed them out here before. I may have it on the resources under references, and it is an appraisal sheet for what appraises for what, like a pool, like a deck, this and that, right? So what appraisals for what adds on an appraisal, and what does not. There's a sheet for that. If I have it somewhere, if it's not on our reference tab, but take that with you and talk to them about that. Look, I know you guys have a hot tub. Well, hot tubs bring this much, you know, or, you know, built-in hot tub, whatever. Use adjustments, add, subtract based on market rates, obviously. All right, compile data to benchmark value, discuss positives and negatives, calculate adjusted prices, average price per square foot from comps compared to the subject square foot. Average price per square foot, sorry, times the subject square foot. So if it's 250, it's getting 250 a foot, and it's a 2,000 square foot house, then it's a $500,000 house. And then you start adjusting from there. Weigh recent comps more heavily, adjust for market changes like inventory shortages, or the opposite of that right now. Florida note, factor in seasonal trends like tourism peaks and snowbirds to what's been selling and when. Explain to them also, you know, look, houses sell more in the summer when people are moving, you know, where kids are out of school and they want to get in a different school district, et cetera. That's the time a lot of Floridians are moving. Present professionally, include addresses, side-by-side comps, adjustment, and final price. Give them a leave behind. Print or email the CMA to showcase your work. I would print it if you can and leave it with them. They're going to have, it's a lot of times they're going to interview other agents and you want to leave your stuff with them. Follow up, schedule meetings to review and explain the process. That is the most important thing you can do, is get back in their face. Common mistakes and tips. Mistakes: using outdated comps more than 6 months, ignoring adjustments or biased selections. I would say giving into them and what they want to price it for. I know you're going to do that sometimes because you're going to have to, but come up with a plan. And we talked about this a couple of weeks ago when we were going over objections with sellers. Come up with a plan that, look, and that's fine. We're going to price it at $519. I know you guys think it's worth $525 because, you know, your friend got that 2 years ago. We're going to price it at $519, but we're going to drop it $10,000 every 2 weeks until we sell it or whatever, right? So, but that's the plan, and you can even put that in the additional terms. Tips: stay curious, update on local trends, use 5 to 10 comps, explain process clearly. You can't stress too much about explaining the process clearly. Best practice: weigh ideal comps, consider buyer motivations in hot markets. Florida tip: account for HOA, condo fees, and insurance in coastal areas. So comparing to, when you're comparing prices with different things, obviously different ones. So if you're doing especially condos, stuff like that, and you have comparables, but their fees are $700 a month and yours are only $400 a month, then obviously you have to adjust for that as well. Tools and software for CMAs: obviously MLS, RPR, the software, Zillow for initial checks, like we talked about, the verify with MLS and the tax records, Florida resources, of course, for PSA certification. Okay, a well-done CMA builds trust, optimizes pricing, elevates your practice. Master CMAs by understanding the basics, following the steps, and localizing. All right, let's look at a sample. Okay, so this is just a sample one that took me 15 minutes to do because I didn't do it very thoroughly and it's all fake. But it is one that I did just through PowerPoint. Just all this background house and all this kind of stuff, all this stuff is just completely generated in 15 minutes. Seller subject property overview, 123 Sunshine Drive in Sarasota. Obviously it's all fake. But you see updated kitchen, new roof, no pool, standard lot. They're pointing out, look, the features, pointing out positives and negatives, right? Condition well maintained, modern interior, and these are things for you to insert photo of the property or a map showing its location in Sarasota. Market overview, and this is I just threw this picture up for Sarasota. They didn't have a Sarasota picture, but you're going to have pictures of the actual house and the actual something to do with Sarasota. I just picked a beach, but these are Sarasota things, right? This is market, and this is fake. But median sale price $450, average 25 days. This is when a seller's market. Obviously, this is not real. Inventory 2.5 months. Strong key factor: strong demand due to seasonal buyers. Proximity to Siesta Key beaches boosts value. Limited new construction in the area. So there you go. Okay, these houses that I'm going to show you these are obviously not in Sarasota, Florida, but you guys can get the idea. And I just pulled these from the stock photos that they had. This is comparable number 1. And then you guys will just do the same thing. Comparable number 2, clearly not in Sarasota or anywhere in Florida. And comparable number 3, right? That's just the top of a house. So those are the stock photos they had. But you're going to have pictures of the actual homes that you pull off of wherever. Okay. And you can pull photos off the MLS for your CMAs, even if they're watermarked. It doesn't matter. So here you go.
Did you say we can or we can't?
You can. You can. You're not using them for your marketing. You're using them for a CMA. Perfectly fine. All right. Yeah, you're not using them to sell the house again. You're not putting them back on the MLS. Don't publish it anywhere, but you can use them. Yeah, you're doing comps. It's perfectly fine. You're not selling that house. Adjustment summary. So this is where you do the square footage, the pool. Obviously, that one had a pool, so we're taking $25,000 off. That's just a random number. Lot size, this lot was a little bit bigger. It had a pool, total adjustment. So that one that sold for 460 is actually 430. Okay, because of the adjustments. This one, we've got more square footage. I'm sorry, we have less square footage, so that's 10. And so instead of 455, 445, and the 5,000, so we have more square footage than that one. And then we took off they have upgraded bathrooms, and the total adjustment 10,000. Okay, so those are adjusted prices. So here we go with the recommended listing price for these folks: 435 to 455, adjusted comps from 430 to 455. Subject properties recent upgrades support a price near the higher end. Current market trends, low inventory, high demand favor a competitive but realistic price. So we're suggesting right in the middle for these folks. It positions the property to attract offers quickly while maximizing the value. And then you can have this is just an example of, you can have a slider graphic with 445, with 435 to 455 in yellow, and then 445 highlighted, or whatever, with a pen in it. Supporting data: active listings, 5 similar homes listed between 440 and 480. Average days on market 30 days. Expired listing: 2 similar homes expired at 475 plus due to overpricing. That's something to show them as well. Look, these sat on the market for 6 months or whatever, however long they sat on the market. And then, go over, guys, set yourself as the expert. No flood zone concerns for our property. Proximity to top rated schools and Siesta Key adds value. No HOA fees make this property attractive to cost conscious buyers. And then a pie chart is what they're suggesting we do. Do whatever you want, but have some kind of graphics on these things. Review the CMA. The next steps: discuss this recommended price and any questions. Stage the home to highlight its updated kitchen and open layout. Market strategically. Use professional photos, virtual tours, and targeted marketing to attract Florida buyers. This is all selling stuff. List with confidence. Price at 445 to generate interest and potentially multiple offers. Any offers, great. And then your contact stuff, right? You can use the beach or the FRI logo with your contact details, whatever you want to do. All right. And then I would add something like this: the CMA's estimate based on available data, market conditions as of August 2025 is not a formal appraisal. Consult a licensed appraiser for an official valuation. And I get this question a lot from you guys: should I get an appraisal? We're going and I want to list a property, and should I get an appraisal first? We can't really come to we're not sure what it's worth. We don't have good comps. Sellers maybe even a little unreasonable about it. Everybody loves their house, right? It's the best house that ever it is. Where I raised my kids, this house is worth $1 million, right? And I would say that if the house is of a certain value, to go ahead and get an appraisal up front. If you have no idea what it's worth, or maybe it's a 5-acre farm that's surrounded by R1 housing, and you don't have any idea what it's worth. In that case, assuming it's over a certain, that it's worth it to spend the $400 or $500, get an appraisal. And tell the seller, if the seller doesn't want to buy it, tell them you'll split it with them. Tell them you'll pay for it at closing. If they're going to sign that 3% listing agreement, I'll pay for the appraisal at closing. So you pay for it right now. When we sell the house, I'll take it off my commission. Something like that you can do. Yes, Tammy.
So last week when the inspector was on there speaking, I really said to myself, you know what, I need to start doing that. I like that idea of the pre-listing inspection, the 4-point. Plus it helps to get an insurance quote too. So what if you met with somebody and you didn't really mention that, but now you're like, I'd really like to do that when I list this house, which might be another month or two. How would you present that to them, since you didn't really bring it up to begin with, but now you'd like to incorporate that in the listing?
So guys, here's the latest thing. The latest thing that everybody in my office is talking about is getting these inspections beforehand.
Oh.
With insurance rates and stuff like that. That's how you present it. So here's the latest thing. The latest thing going on in the industry. And I'm on top of the industry because I'm Tammy. And I'm on top of the industry. And this is what the latest thing is. Yeah, just tell me it's something that was just that people just started doing. And you just got wind of it. And it's the latest
Then
trend.
I would be willing to pay for that as part of who I am. But do you recommend that or no?
Well, so here depends on your relationship. And here's the hard part about this. I would recommend paying for all this stuff 3 years ago, when you're going to sell the house and you're going to have multiple offers and
Yeah.
I would recommend paying for that back then, the appraisal too. I mean, because you're going to sell the house, right? So you can even say, I'll pay for it up front and you pay me at closing for it, you know, whatever. How much did he say they were?
I think they said 350.
It depends on
For
the
the
house.
four-
I mean, if you're going to make, not if you're going to make $3,000, but if it's a,
Right,
you know, if it's something you're going to make $12,000 on, I would do it.
right.
And I think, well, and if you're going to pay for it, then what do I care? You can bring it up anytime.
Well, and it could be a cancellation thing too. Like if they cancel, that would be one of the fees you could recoup.
Right. But
You
so
know.
in that case, you need to tell them in an email. They need to tell you in an email, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
So you can
Or
say,
just do it. I mean, I just believe in it, so I probably just do it. But
well, you can, but they might fight you on paying you back for it. Like, we didn't agree to that.
Yeah.
You know, I knew you'd have a sign and pictures. We agreed to that, you know? So yeah, it's if you feel good about doing it, then do it. You know, it depends on your relationship. If you're worried, like you don't know these people and they might, you know, I've had you guys list stuff and people cancel a month into it, or they just decide they don't want to sell anymore, or something happens in their life and they, you know, they've got to leave town for a month to go take care of their family, whatever it is. And they decide to pull it off the market or not sell it or whatever. And you guys get burned on stuff. So just make sure you're covered.
Yeah.
If it's a good relationship and the house,
yeah, I have a good relationship with them. You know, it's kind of
and the house is worth a certain amount that $300 is just a blip, then that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Good question though. Any other questions? Any other comments on the CMAs? Did you guys get what you needed out of this?
So the MLS offers a CMA, you know, when you go in there and you kind of do your comps, and then it offers a CMA, which has a bunch of stuff in it. But I don't know. It's not fast. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of cumbersome in a sense to me.
Right.
And I'm kind of confused on the adding values. I mean, you just did some basic add-ons. So basically just your pool and your square footage is what you would add and subtract for.
Yeah, you're doing that. Let me stop sharing this real quick. So I'm going to work on it real quick. I'll show you guys something else. Yeah, so you're doing that. And what do you mean? You're just adding values, and what do you mean?
Yes, I've never really done that. You know, I just kind of look at the comps in the neighborhood and it's just kind of wing it, I guess. So I've never been real formal about
what the minuses and pluses and all that.
Yes.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you should be a little more formal about it. And
yeah,
you don't
I think
have to be
so
right.
too.
They're all approximates. You've got that disclaimer. Everything here is approximate. And I think it's okay to say, well, you know, obviously, well, the square footage different is a flat number because, you know, it's,
right.
You know, it's selling for $212 a square foot.
Right.
And so we have 300 less square feet. You do that. But some of the stuff, a fireplace, a jacuzzi tubs, all the things that sellers love to tout.
Don't add value.
A really nice pool with a waterfall and a spa compared to an average pool, right? And I think that might even be average now. But, you know, those kind of things are just, you're kind of winging it a little bit. You know, my kitchen that was updated 5 years ago compared to the one that was upgraded last year, you know, and how quickly are the trends changing, and my stuff is dated now. So, I mean, how do you add or subtract from that? Yeah. They just renovated their kitchen at that other comp, but I did mine 6 years ago. Right. And then you have to explain to them, yeah, well, you know, look at pictures of theirs and look at pictures of yours. You know what I mean? So people are like, what do you mean? This is beautiful. So it's just, you're just throwing numbers out there. Honestly, I mean, there's no way to evaluate that properly. But an appraiser might, you know, take that into account. Does that help? I mean, it's an inexact science, but you know how to sell the property. You know what it's worth. You know, when you're looking and when you're bringing a buyer to something and you're looking at comps to make sure you're offering a reasonable price, you look at all that stuff and you know plus or minus what that's worth, right? My AC is 6 years newer than theirs, right? So what does that do? You know, so we're kind of back and forth. As long as it's not everything at my house is a lot older than theirs, then maybe it all washes out, you know. George.
Yes, I use, to Tammy's point, I use the CMA from MLS. and I use Kelly Kellogg's adjustment sheets, and I adjust for everything. But this is kind of what I do with investors. So I adjust for baths, square foot, garage spaces if they're available, pools, all of that. I adjust for everything. It's anything that makes my house different, I point it out, and I do an appraisal package for the appraiser. So I'm selling to the appraiser, I'm selling to a buyer, but I'm also selling to an appraiser. So if I've got an updated house, I put everything I have in there. So I go the other way, where you use true comparatives. I go just the opposite. I will adjust for square footage. Now, for square footage, I've been taught that's the average square foot divided by 4, because every house has a kitchen and bathroom, which is more expensive than a bedroom or a family room or whatever that other square footage is. And I adjust based on that. So that's how I do it. The appraisers don't give me pushback. They actually like getting the appraisal package. And so any receipts I have, I'll do a high level and a very detailed report. If I have all receipts, show them how much money typically the investor. There's the Kelly Kellogg sheet. So that's how I do it. I use that package, and so far my sellers have bought into it. And I'm not real thrilled with the one that the CMA that comes with MLS, but it's out there, and they'll see it from multiple agents if you have multiple agents going at it.
Mm-hmm. And guys, you can even point out, look, this is probably the CMA that you'll get from other agents, and here's why mine's better. So you can even give them that other CMA from the MLS and say, this is what you'll see, but what this isn't taking into account is this and this and this and this. So that's a good thing to do to contrast yourself to people. Knowing that other people are going to do that, George, is an advantage. So thank you. And this is what George was talking about. This is from 2021, as you can see in that corner where she gave
us a difference. So that's the price up top. But what age difference are you talking about? Like, at what point do you adjust for age difference?
That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that. George, you know
that? If you do the age calculation that we were taught in school, it would be every year, but most generally it's a 5-year mark.
Okay.
So if
every 5 years?
Yeah, every 5 years you would adjust for that. I don't typically, if it's in the neighborhood, I don't adjust for the age difference very often. The appraisers have to, but you'll find that in most houses, if your comps are good, that's not going to play a great deal of value. But it can, if your house was the original farmhouse in a neighborhood that's now got 200 or 500 homes in it, and you're now selling that original farmhouse, then the age will come into effect. And then you're working with effective age versus when built age. So if you've remodeled with permits, the county appraiser and assessor will update the effective date, and that's the date you're working against.
But so you can see how, even with this sheet, how subjective it is. So, a pool on $1 million home is worth $30,000 to $100,000. And that's for you to see what the pool is like. The screen patio, the covered porch, etc. You guys know a nice one from a just not as nice one. So that might be something you add a few bucks for here and there, take off a few bucks for. There's your fireplace we were talking about.
Is this on her website? Can we get this off?
I've got this. Yeah, I can send it out.
Or
here,
can you put it in the paperless pipeline?
I can absolutely. I can put it right here, right now. How about that? I bet it's on paperless pipeline, but I'm putting it here right now. While you're looking at that, Rita, do you have a question? Rita, your hand's up. I don't know if you did that on purpose. All right. Anybody else have any questions? How about someone who, any questions about anything besides CMAs? Nothing. Yes, George.
I haven't looked, so I'm going to beg for forgiveness here. Do we have a listing checklist on Paperless Pipeline with the new, the post lawsuit? Need these addendums, this sheet?
Well, the only thing added from the list side is a flood disclosure. They changed the listing agreement. And then, of course, all the things that we need, like the compensation agreement, stuff like that, is all on the checklist before you close.
Okay, so just use the closing checklist.
Right. But on the buyer's thing, of course, it's all on the checklist, the new buyer's brokerage agreement and all that stuff. Yes.
All right, thank you.
You bet, sir. Rita.
Okay, sorry about that. I just had a listing presentation or a listing that had a full home solar paid for. And I just wanted to make a note that the appraiser did not give any value to that because it had depreciated so much. So there was no value given to it, where we gave value, kind of just a ballpark of what we thought the appraiser would give, and got nothing.
Yes, that is common, that appraisers give nothing for them.
Yeah.
If they are paid off, I think they're worth something because they're saving you money on your electric.
Right.
So,
But it depreciates. So
yes, it depreciates. It often depreciates at the same amount that you owe on it. So
Mhm.
you take 20 years of payments and it completely depreciates over 20 years, and you got to redo it then. So
Right.
that can be the downfall of solar. And the other things I would tell people if I were trying not to sell solar is trying to stop someone from buying solar is, if you better live here for 20 years too, because you try to move and you try to sell it like what they're doing and they get absolutely nothing for it.
Mhm.
So that is common, Rita, unfortunately.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
I might think it's worth $10,000 because it's saving me, $300 a month on my electric bill, but
Mhm.
the appraiser doesn't see it that way.
Right. Yeah. Just a note that I just learned in my
Yes.
day to day.
Yeah, we learn as we go, but that is a
Yes.
common thing that you see on real estate forums and stuff like that.
Mhm. Yes. Thank you.
All right, Rita. Juan.
Hey guys, have you ever seen a sinkhole disclosure under normal circumstances?
What do you mean normal? Meaning they haven't had a sinkhole?
Like, for example, in Orlando, I can actually, expect it because, it's known for that. But in other cities in Florida, do you ever, because we were looking at a property for somebody that's planning on buying, and the attachments on the MLS had sinkhole disclosure, and it's the first time I see it. And I was wondering if that should bring attention to, like, maybe there's something's going on around that area, or.
Well, first of all of Florida is built on lime rock, so it's a sinkhole can happen anywhere. In Florida, that's why we don't have 50-story buildings. That's why the tallest buildings in Orlando are like 27 stories, because you can't build like New York on a rock. So that's one thing. So it's everywhere. But what did the sinkhole disclosure say?
I think it was just disclosing that they don't know anything about that, etc. It's a house from 1950, and it's always been used for rental. I don't know if they just threw a whole bunch of disclosures just to be on the safe side, or.
You still see disclosures for Chinese drywall. You still see disclosures for everything. I wouldn't worry about it. It's just always suspicious. Like, I don't know anything about a sinkhole. Well,
the thing is, honestly, I never heard about a sinkhole until I moved to Orlando.
Well,
I lived in Miami, West Palm, Jacksonville, and it was never, never talked about it. And in Orlando, is the first time that I started hearing.
They're everywhere.
Yeah. Ryan, the other question I have is comparables for bigger acres, vacant land, or agriculture. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do have lots of thoughts on that. You should be able to, well, first of all, for comparables for agriculture, you can go anywhere. Agriculture is agriculture. Just find a similar property, meaning not on a highway, not, something that'll never be developed. If it's something that'll never be developed, otherwise, a lot of these are going to sell on the highest and best use. So if you tell me you have 40 acres of pasture land, but it's right on 192 somewhere, that's going to be near St. Cloud or something that's going to be developed eventually, that's going to be a different price than if it's out in the middle of absolute nowhere, which used to be what St. Cloud was. But now, so it's a complicated answer to that. The answer is 200 acres of pasture land in Florida is 200 acres of pasture land in Florida. If it's not, it depends on if it's on a dirt road somewhere that's way out from development, then it's comparable. Even if something's in Gainesville and something's in Okeechobee, it's the same. But if something is in the going to be developed in 10 years or 20 years, then it's going to be worth a lot more. So I don't know what to tell you on that. But it depends on the highest and best use, or if it's just out in the middle of nowhere and agriculture is the highest and best use, then you can compare anywhere in Florida.
Got it. Hey, just, do you have I'll email Jeanette like I did last time for people in other cities, but we might have some brokers here that maybe specialize on that type of big acres and stuff like that.
Okay.
All right. Thanks.
Well, yeah, let us know.
Yeah. I'll ask Jeanette. I don't want to take it too long. Thanks.
All right. George.
Yeah, Ryan, back to Rita's point on solar. I'm getting ready to sell another one. My public service announcement is to people, if you qualify for an AARP card, solar is not a good buy. It is in Florida. I'd have a different conversation if you were in Colorado, but in Florida, it makes no sense to put solar on. And I've not found any of the ways that you can purchase it, any of the power purchase plans, et cetera, that make any sense once you reach the age of 50. So it's I'm a solar advocate, but Florida is not. It's Florida's power company service provider friendly. It doesn't make sense.
Okay. Thanks, George. Christina.
Hey. So, yeah, I'm just noticing the same thing with solar, and I just don't know what they are saying to these folks to get everybody to agree to take on these $50,000, $70,000, what are they saying? Are they promising them like a bunch of credits, or, because I just have not ever seen it, like what you're saying with the appraisal piece, I've not ever seen it work out, and especially in this market. I had one that I sold earlier this year, the sweetest couple, and they just it was their deceased brother's house, and these solar guys came in and sold him like a $60,000 solar backup battery package when he was battling cancer, which he eventually succumbed to. But these guys come in and they're just like, yeah, you need to get solar.
Yeah, they it's a transference. Sales is a transference of emotion, and they get people thinking that it's the environmental thing to do, and that they're going to save some money. So they hit you in the pocketbook, they hit you in the emotions, and sell it. Otherwise, I don't know. But yeah, and they don't
will tell you. Excuse me, Ryan. What they tell you, because I probably have 10 bids on my house and I still don't have solar on it because I'm a little bit older than that. They will tell you right on. They'll have the expert on the phone and they'll say whatever the price of it is, you're going to get the 30% discount on the solar price. You're going to save this much money. The price of solar or price of electricity is going up, but you'll have your own thing. It's good for 25 years, all of that. And then they'll tell you that whatever that price is, we'll add that to the appraised value of your house. And then when I tell them BS in no uncertain terms, they kind of back out. But they tell people that whatever that number, that bottom line number is, that's the value of your house just went up. And that's not true. And
And they put them on old roofs.
yes,
know,
and-
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
it
Well,
is.
there's a lot of things too. There's another realtor in another state. I want to say her name's Courtney Benson, but she made a video on it and was like, oh, it's good for the environment. And she outlined a lot of things like the manufacture of it, the disposal of it, that it's actually all of that is very bad for the environment. And then I had one where there was a hurricane coming in town and they were under contract. They had agreed to replace the roof. Well, they can't, you have to have that solar company come out, remove the panels. They charge them $5,000 to remove the panels and put them back on. And they couldn't get the roof repaired pre-hurricane because the solar company couldn't get out there and do it. So I don't know. I mean, I feel bad, but it's like I see so many people and I just, especially these past, 2 or 3 years, no buyer is willing to take on that loan. They're just not,
Mhm. Makes it
Anyways.
difficult. Marcus.
Thank you, Ryan. A complete different subject what we've been talking about. I sent you I was messaging you earlier, so I'm just going to raise the question on here and see if I get some opinion. So the second time this has happened to me with the same broker. I had a client decide to cancel the contract like within 24 hours of signing our offer, our contract on a new purchase. And this broker sort of sends emails constantly trying to get reasons why, no matter what message I send, I'm going to go to your broker. We got out of it last time, about a year and a half ago, Ryan. I don't know if he ever ended up actually reaching out to you. I don't remember. But I'm in that same situation again. So I simply stated that my clients wish to cancel the contract. No escrow has been transferred. Here's the release, cancellation release. And so far I've got 2 emails back. First one, please advise the reason behind the cancellation. And I said no details were provided. And he doesn't stop and says, if you're able to give us an indication as to why that was canceled, that would be helpful. So I already know what's coming because this happened before. Same broker, gonna elevate it, blah, blah, blah.
It's during the inspection period?
No, it literally 24 hours. We haven't even got it escrow. It's less like 12 hours after it was executed, 6 in the morning. By 6 p.m., I canceled.
Okay.
No escrow.
Okay. Well, you don't have to make escrow. If you cancel before escrow is due, you don't have to make escrow.
Yeah, I don't want to keep on going back and forth with emails.
But it wasn't as is. It's an as is contract.
It wasn't as is. Yes.
Okay. You don't.
So I
they
don't
don't
really
need
want
a
to have suggestions or been in that scenario just so I can cut him off before he goes.
You can give them a reason and just kill the thing. Whatever you want. But it could be because their cat died. For all I mean, it's nobody's business in that situation. The cat died.
My point of view is not to give a reason. Like no need for a reason. I don't think. And
there is no legal need for a reason.
Marcus.
There is no legal need for a reason. But if you just want to end this thing, and I don't care if you send us a cancellation. So it's fine.
Okay. Thank you. I don't know if anyone else had an opinion or thoughts.
No, it's fine. If they'll sign a cancellation, that's great. If they won't, guys, if you get people who won't sign a cancellation, there's no money on the line, there's nothing else on the line, then just let us know. Send us a note that says that in your file, say they refuse to sign the cancellation. You can't make people sign something, and if there's nothing on the line, then you can't do it.
Thank you.
So, Marcus, if there becomes an issue with this, or if they contact me, which they would be, would be idiotic, pardon my phrasing, to contact me about somebody backing out of an as is when it says it's at the buyer's sole discretion. So it doesn't. You don't have to get. That's why you use an as is rather than a standard. Because if you had a standard, you couldn't do that without getting an inspection, etc. So, but because you use an as is, your buyer can walk for that reason. That's it.
Thank you.
All right. Anne.
Yes, I have the situation that I think the listing agent is discriminate, but I don't know how to handle this. I want to ask you. I emailed to you, but I'm not sure if you receive it. The land cost a list at 160. We offer at the beginning is 140 cash, and I text him so many times, and he texts back, "Don't bother me." The seller doesn't want to answer. So we send another offer, 150 cash, close quick whenever the seller wants. And he say, the seller doesn't want to answer. So I emailed him. I asked like what the price the seller want final offer. So he said, don't bother me. We don't, I mean, if you want, you can make another offer. We don't want to answer. So my last email said, I think you guys discriminate. And he didn't answer me.
How is
So-
he discriminating against what?
I don't know. I mean, we Asian. He's maybe, I don't know. I mean, he doesn't want to talk to me. And at this market, vacant land, 150, he listed 160. And whenever I ask him, and he don't even want to talk to me, and he's kind of rude. So
Okay. Send me his stuff. I followed that. I didn't understand why you were copying me on stuff. You copied me on a lot of stuff, so I didn't understand why you were copying me on that. Send me his information, and I will
Okay.
talk to his broker.
thank you.
You know, what's funny is in these situations, so many times the person is the broker. The person that's being unethical or questionable is the broker. So many times, because a lot of times they worked for a brokerage and their broker didn't back them up because they were being like that. And so they said, I'll start my own brokerage. But we'll see what happens.
Thank you.
All right. Marcus, there was one more thing I wanted to tell you, and I forgot what it was. But you don't have to give them, I was going to tell you, you don't have to give them an answer, but you might as well. One thing that they may think that you're doing, especially since you backed out that quickly, is that you put in multiple offers on multiple properties, and they're trying to get you in some kind of unethical thing. What they're trying to get you to say maybe is, we made 2 offers, their other offer got accepted also.
That was my thought exactly. I'm not in that situation, but that was my exact thought.
Yeah, don't get caught up in that. I mean, give them a reason if you want, but if you don't have to.
Yeah, I'm to be honest, it was a hotel condo. They gave it more thought, and they said, you know what, we can only use it half the year. That's their exact reason. I don't know if I want to say that, is that they
No, that's a fine thing to say. So
I'm
yeah,
paying
they
full
decided
year.
they wouldn't use enough.
Yeah, and I'm paying for a full year of HOA, but I can't use it. Although I was upfront with them, I get a lot of hotel condo clients, and I'm way upfront. This is what you're gonna get. They wanted to go for it and then changed their mind last minute. So they're not like they were not informed. They were, but for whatever reason, they thought it over after they signed and got it executed and came up with exactly what I told them before, that you're not going to use it for the whole year. You're paying the condo, and that's what was essentially their reasoning. Is like, if we want to use it, we can, and I'm paying.
Just to kill this thing, Marcus, tell them that story if you want. Just say,
Okay.
look, I told them ahead of time, but they didn't listen, and they realized that they didn't want this hotel condo.
Okay.
So I mean, it's kind of like, me and you are buddies. We're fellow agents, so we're buddies, and you know how it goes when clients don't listen. And
Yep.
of course, he's going to say, yeah, of course. But what they're trying to get you to admit to is that we put in multiple offers.
Multiple offers, absolutely.
All right.
Thank you.
Ryan, I don't know if I missed something, but what about they just changed their mind in 24 hours? I mean,
They can
it
change
could
their mind.
happen.
It really could be because their cat woke up sick and they saw it as a bad sign. That it's an omen. It could be anything. It could be anything.
Yeah.
There's no reason. As long as you're using as is, you don't have to have a reason. It's sole discretion. So they could go, we looked at the house again and we just, maybe it smelled funny, maybe whatever, right? And so, no, you don't have to have a good reason. And I covered this when I talk about the as is versus the standard. With the standard, it's much more complicated. You have to get an inspection. If your inspection says that that you need more than what they're offering, then they have to agree to that, et cetera, et cetera. And they have to hire their own inspector. And then if you can't agree to that, then you have to hire a third inspector. Both of you go in on a third inspector, and you have to live by whatever they say. And if it's outside the 1.5% that they're going to give you, then you can back out of the contract. But if it's in that, then they have to give you the money. I mean, it's a serious thing you're locking into before you've even inspected the house. So it's I don't like the standard for that reason, for both parties. Okay. Any other questions or comments before we go?
I don't see any hands up, but I do have a question about a commercial contract. I noticed the commercial contract, when you put the EMD, it doesn't have like a due date like the residential one in that top section. And I saw a commercial contract, And what the broker did, the broker for the seller, he basically strike through everything on the typical FAR bar commercial, except the financing section, and then he did a complete addendum, which was weird. But then again, I don't deal with commercial that much. I don't know if that's something
That's
customary.
weird. It's weird because they might as well just write their own contract.
Exactly. That was my thought.
No.
You know, and by the way, can we write our own contract when the property is in the MLS, or is there a restriction that we have to use the FAR bar?
No, you can absolutely write whatever contract you want. You can write it on a napkin if you want.
Okay.
Just better be legal.
Okay. Yeah, because one day on a separate note, a broker told me, "Oh, you're a real estate agent. You should know that we always have to use the FAR bar," and it made me
No.
doubt myself. To be
A lot
honest.
of people say a lot of stupid stuff. So no.
Yeah. So
You
in this,
Just because you put it in the MLS, there's lots of commercial properties in MLS that are also on LoopNet and everywhere else. And most of the people who are in commercial real estate are not realtors. They're not in the MLS.
but in residential, you can do your own contract as well.
Yeah.
Or do you have to use the FAR
Absolutely.
bar?
People, yeah, I can write.
Yeah.
I can literally buy your house on a napkin with no realtors involved, no nothing.
No,
If
no,
I'm
I'm talking
buying
about
it-
if you are a realtor and you have it on the MLS. Is
Yes,
this already
true.
listed?
Yes, I don't have to use a FAR bar. You can not accept it. You could say I don't like your napkin. Use it as is, and I have to say okay. You can, and people say that to me all the time. You guys say, especially years ago, it was more common. My buyer doesn't want to use an as is because they don't like the sound of as is, right? Because buyers don't like that. Seller, it's a common misconception out there, right? That's part of why people need us. Sellers think, oh, I want to sell it as is, meaning just take it like it is, no questions. And buyers see as is, and they're like, no, I'm not taking it. I want to inspect it. And you're like, yeah. You get to inspect it with the as is, right? And you have to explain that. You have to educate people. But the same thing, I used to get you guys where you would call me and say, I want to write a standard contract, but this listing agent is telling me as is only. I don't have to do that. Yes, you do. If the seller says as is only on their listing agreement, then that's the only thing they'll take. And same thing for you guys. And you can get your seller, or if the seller just tells you that's all they want is the as is contract, that's perfectly fine.
Got it. So in that commercial, is just make a note in the bottom, because I always, the main three things that I normally see when I see a contract is EMD, to find out if they're serious about it, closing date, and inspection period. Those are three main things that I look at. And in that main contract, the template, I didn't see it on that section. And in this particular contract, they never put a closing date. They just left it because they scratched out everything except the finance. So I wanted to see if in commercial things are done differently, where you can just have a contract and within the finance period, then you can decide when you close, or
you can do whatever you want with any of these. But I want to ask you something. What are you talking about the EMD? So I'm pulling it up right now. It should pop up any second. There you go. This is the commercial contract.
Yeah.
What are you talking about, EMD?
Right there, deposit to held escrow by,
Right.
and then they put the escrow, the title company, and they put the amount. But you see, like in the bottom, it says additional deposits within 3 days. That initial one doesn't have a particular date.
Gotcha. It doesn't.
So so the buyer, he wants to make
It
sure
also
that
it doesn't have an amount either. So it shouldn't say additional there. It should just be the original deposit. And then this should say additional. So you're right. That is a mistake on the thing, because this doesn't have it has an amount, but it doesn't have a time. We used to, long time ago, you made escrow with your contract. You put a check in with it, and they would only cash the check if they accepted the contract. Now, so many people are away from checks that you wire it within 3 days, because that makes sense. But I would treat this the additional thing. I would leave that blank. I would leave this one blank. I would put this one, put the escrow agent, fill this out, and I would click here.
Yeah.
Not here. Here. Within 3 days of the effective date, which is going to be whenever people sign this.
Yeah.
Let's say it's today. All right.
Yeah, so that would mean 0 at the time of execution and whatever amount within 3 days after execution.
I would leave that blank. I wouldn't put a 0 there. Just leave it blank and put the escrow here. There you go. 25,000. All right.
Good. Thanks.
All right. Any other questions? But I got that. So I got this question the other day because someone got an offer on a residential property that was pretty much all scratched through, and it just said and it had the addendum, take everything. And I tell them, if you do that, it's and it was one of those, lowball people who were trying to. I wouldn't accept it. Just, you don't hire a lawyer to look through it. They asked me for my opinion on it. It's one of you guys in here asked me for my opinion on it, and I told them I wouldn't accept this. If you want to hire it, I can't give you an opinion on it because it's all legalese made up by somebody, and I'm not a lawyer, and neither are you. So either have the seller hire a lawyer to look over it if all the price and terms look good just to the eyeball, or tell them to put it on an as-is. They do not have to be a realtor to use an as-is. If it's not a realtor, like it's one of those people, say, here, just fill in all these terms on the as-is. Okay, this is what we use, you say this is what we use in Florida. This is all my seller will accept. Because the seller, you ask your seller in writing, would you like to hire a lawyer to look over this for $500? Or would you rather turn it in on an as-is? And they're going to say, whatever, but I don't want to pay a lawyer. So there you go. All right. Any other questions before we go? All right, guys. Any other comments? Vivian would kill me if I did not remind you guys that her thing is at 3:00 today. Check your FRI agents page.
I saw her putting signs out today. I drove by. I'm like, that was Vivian, but I don't know what her sign said because it's just a broker's open, right?
Just a broker's open. Yeah. Broker's open. I just had it pulled up on my Facebook. And it is at 3:00 today. Okay. It's at 3:00. It is, you guys have the address. It's 3022 Kingfisher Drive, Orlando 32806. All right. Yes, Marcus.
Real quick, just want to mention why most of the team members are still on. Anyone have listings with short-term rental with financials, let me know, because I get those type of clients all the time. So, but my clients are always looking for the numbers, not just that it's Airbnb-able. So anyone ever have something like that with financials, well, no matter what they are, please always send them to me. Let me know.
Okay. Good point. All right. Thank you, everybody. I will see you next week. We'll have something awesome for you. You guys take care. I hope you guys got something out of this today. We'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.